Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about the 10 best original streaming horror movies this year. And let's get to the list.
You can't get rid of me.
So delicious.
Appendage is a 2023 drama body horror movie. Directed by Anna Zlokovic, it stars Emily Hampshire, Hadley Robinson, and Kausar Mohammed. A young fashion designer's life spirals as her darkest inner thoughts manifest into something gruesome that won't stop growing.
This is gonna sound crazy. But have you ever seen anything like this before?
No.
So this is a movie that really surprised me, mainly because it's body horror and it's pretty well done, and yet I've heard no one talk about it. And in a lot of ways, it's like a Henenlotter 1980s schlocky horror movie, but with some class and brought into the modern day, and just trying to take this schlocky body horror element, but elevate it to kind of a different level and make it a more dramatic movie, something to take more serious than you would a Henenlotter. Because as much as I love Basket Case and movies like that, you know, they're cheesy. That's why we like them. There's this schlocky, cheesy element to them. But the body horror element is still very fun in those. And this has that. But yet, like I said, it's doing it in a much more dramatic way, a way that you would take much more serious. And by no means am I saying this is a perfect movie, but it's original in a lot of ways. It's fun. It goes for it. It really goes for it. And not everything that it does works, but it really is taking some big swings to do something unique here, and I gotta applaud it for that. It's entertaining, it's well shot, it's well directed, the acting is great. It really is a solid little gem. So if that sounds like something you'd be into, it's streaming right now on Hulu, and I highly recommend you go give it a look.
This isn't a vacation, it's a quarantine.
We're the only people around here.
Sick is a 2023 slasher horror movie. Directed by John Hyams and written by Kevin Williamson. It stars Gideon Adlon, Beth Million, and Dylan Sprayberry. Due to the pandemic, Parker and her best friend decide to quarantine at her family's lake house alone, or so they think.
This is incredible. Sick.
And it's all ours. The only neighbor is miles away.
So this is another one that really surprised me. I'm probably going to say that a lot on this list because these are streaming originals. You don't usually go into these expecting much. And this is one that I was pleasantly surprised by. It really is a solid, well done slasher. Because I'm a big fan of the Scream movies, and this was written by Kevin Williamson. And so you can definitely feel that Scream slasher vibe to it. But it's original enough, and it does enough things different that it doesn't just feel like a Scream ripoff. And to be honest, I don't want to think about the pandemic. I'm very burned out about it. It's the last thing I want to think about or see in entertainment anymore. But as far as a movie that deals with it, it does as good of a job as any and doesn't feel all bogged down with it. It does deal with it, but it also gives you a lot of action and exciting slasher elements. It's heart-pounding and intense and really keeps you on the edge of your seat. But the biggest thing about this movie that really shines is just how good it looks. This thing was shot wonderfully. The cinematography and editing are just really, really well done. So I think it's just a fun little slasher, not anything to overthink, but I think you could really have a good time with it. It's streaming right now over on Peacock, so definitely check it out. From Black is a 2023 horror movie. Directed by Thomas Marchese, it stars Anna Camp, John Ells, and Jennifer LaFleur. A recovering drug addict, desperate for closure and saddened by crushing guilt, is presented with the bizarre offer to learn the truth about what happened and set things right.
There is a way to get them back.
Back from where?
Wherever it is they go.
This is a dark, twisted foreboding kind of film. It deals with some really heavy issues and definitely brings you down. This is not a fun kind of watch. It's a dark, dramatic, twisted kind of film that really deals with some powerful issues. It has fantastic acting, and the cinematography and the way it's shot are really well done as well. It's a slow burn, dialogue driven kind of movie, so it's not one that's going to have a lot of exciting elements to it. It does get creepy and does have some really well done imagery that's definitely going to get under your skin. But as far as like an exciting movie, that's not really what this is. But if you're someone like me that enjoys slow burn, artsy, dramatic horror, this is a fantastic pick.
The point of life. It isn't just one thing. What is the point?
Rebirth is a 2023 psychological horror movie. Directed by Laura Moss and her directorial debut, from a screenplay by Moss and Brendan J. O'Brien. It stars Marin Ireland, Judy Reyes, and A.J. Lister. A morgue technician successfully reanimates the body of a little girl. But to keep her breathing, she will need to harvest biological materials from pregnant women.
Do you remember a little girl who passed away last Friday? They say they don't have her. I'm trying to figure out what to tell the mother.
In a lot of ways, this is like Frankenstein meets Reanimator, but without the humor of Reanimator, of course. This is a dark, twisted, uncomfortable kind of movie that deals with some really heavy issues, and it's pretty powerful, to be honest, because of the situations. This is a situational kind of horror movie, and the acting is so well done. Marin Ireland especially is just fantastic in this. It's one of those movies that every year seem to come out on Shudder where no one talks about them, they fly completely under the radar, and yet they have like this Academy Award level acting in them. Like a bunch of the other ones on this list, it seems to be every year there's these small movies that come out on Shudder that have just the most high level of acting you can ask for. Performances that, to be honest, deserve Oscar nods. Like, that's how good a lot of the acting is in some of these Shudder originals. But this is another slow burn that deals a lot in dread and slowly builds into this nightmare scenario. There are some shocking moments and a lot of really uncomfortable ones. So this is not a movie for everyone. But if you enjoy slow burn, dread-filled kind of horror movies, this is one you absolutely need to check out over on Shudder.
Just so you know, I don't do blowjobs. You pee out of that thing.
Just think, maybe if she did do blowjobs, she'd still be alive.
Yeah, let's not make that the lesson.
Totally Killer is a 2023 comedy slasher horror movie. Directed by Nahnatchka Khan, it stars Kiernan Shipka, Olivia Holt, and Julie Bowen. When the infamous Sweet 16 killer returns 35 years after his first murder spree to claim another victim, 17-year-old Jamie accidentally travels back in time to 1987 and is determined to stop the killer before he can start.
I'd like to report a crime that hasn't happened yet. Have you seen the movie Back to the Future? Basically, I'm living that movie right now, which is how I know there's gonna be a murder tonight.
This one was so much fun. It really was a great time. It's kind of the opposite of the other movies I've been talking about. This one is all about popcorn horror. It's just silly. It has a lot of jokes and lighthearted qualities about it. It reminds me of movies like Happy Death Day and Freaky, where it's lighthearted, but it has some crude humor, some pretty savage kills, gets a little bit gory, but at the end of the day, it's not anything to overthink. It's one to just have a great time with. It really is like Back to the Future meets Scream, and I just think that's such a great idea, and it's well executed. Kiernan Shipka's fantastic in it. It is just a great time, and one that if you have yet to see, you definitely should get over to Prime Video and check it out.
Death is a disease. There's a cure.
The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster is a 2023 sci-fi horror movie, written and directed by Bomani J. Story in his directorial debut. It stars Lea DeLeon Hayes, Denzel Whitaker, and Chad Coleman. Vicaria is a brilliant teenager who believes that death is a disease that can be cured. And after the brutal murder of her brother, she embarks on a dangerous journey to bring him back to life.
Death is the disease that broke my family. I'm sick of seeing it.
This is a modern day telling of the Frankenstein story, but it has enough unique qualities to it. It isn't just simply Frankenstein nowadays. It deals with some really heavy issues though. Because it deals with poverty and gang violence, it just feels very different than what we know of as the Frankenstein story. Beyond that, just the whole idea of death being a disease that can be cured, the way that's handled in this, it's a really unique kind of spin that just has a really original feel to it. And I've heard some people talk shit about the way the creature, the monster looks in this. And I liked it. I think it's a choice. I think it may not work for everyone, but I thought it had a real kind of unique quality about it that I enjoyed. I thought it felt fresh, and like I said, the movie in general felt fresh and unique. But it also really goes for it and made some decisions that really surprised me, not things that you generally see movies do. But this is an emotional, dramatic kind of movie, not one that's lighthearted by any means, but I think it's extremely well done and one that I highly recommend you go over to Shudder and check out. With Sarah the Bone Woman is a 2022 Mexican-Peruvian supernatural horror movie, directed and co-written by Michelle Garza Cervera in her directorial debut. It stars Natalia Solian, Alfonso Dassel, and Mayra Bautala. Valeria has long dreamed of becoming a mother, and after learning she's pregnant, she expects to feel happy, yet something is horribly wrong.
Ya se te estaba pasando el tren. ¿Estás contenta?
Feliz.
¿Y eso que no te gustan los niños?
This is one I've heard a lot about this year. I've heard numerous people tell me, hey, you gotta check this out. This is the best movie of the year, or at least one of them. And I finally was able to this week, and I'm so glad I did because this is a fantastic movie. Now, this is another slow burn, dread-filled kind of horror movie. This isn't an exciting action kind of movie by any means. It deals in dread, it deals in anxiety. There isn't big jump scares. This isn't a fun kind of horror movie. It's more of a drama that becomes a horror movie as the dread intensifies and it becomes just more and more uncomfortable and foreboding. But it has some fantastic imagery, some things that definitely make your skin crawl, stuff that'll stick with you, just some really unique and creative visuals that I'm a big fan of. But the acting is incredible in this, especially Natalia Solian. This is one of those performances, like I was talking about, that need more buzz. More people need to see these performances. I mean, her performance in this is seriously Oscar worthy, and it's a real crime that it just goes over to Shudder like a lot of the movies I'm talking about, and nobody talks about them. It gets no buzz, and it just kind of disappears. But it's also my favorite kind of movies to talk to you guys about and let you know about, because at least we get to share these. At least we know of these movies, and the rest of the world may miss out on them, but we don't. And so it just brings me so much happiness to know that I'm getting a few of you guys to know about these gems and check them out. So this is another one over on Shudder that I highly recommend. The Offering is a 2023 supernatural horror movie, directed by Oliver Park from a story by Hank Hoffman and Jonathan Younger. It stars Nick Blood, Emily Wiseman, and Alan Cordunder. A family struggling with loss find themselves at the mercy of an ancient demon trying to destroy them from the inside.
I may have found something.
It's on the knife.
It's an ancient voiding inscription, often the seal of a body containing a demon.
I was blown away by this movie. I'm not exaggerating, because this is once again something that one of you guys, I wish I knew who, I just remember hearing someone mention, hey, you got to check The Offering out. It's one of the best of the year, and no one's talking about it. And it's available on Hulu. It's a Hulu original. And I'm just floored. I can't believe more people aren't talking about this, because it's creepy, disturbing, uncomfortable. It's scary at times. It has some really cool imagery, great acting, and it feels fresh and unique because it's a Jewish folktale. It's something that you don't see much horror done on. I just love seeing American movies that are based on other cultures' folktales because it's just different. It's not the things that we're familiar with. And so it just gives it this fresh style, this fresh feel, and it makes it scary again because it doesn't feel like it's following in the same steps as everything else we've seen before. But it gets dark and twisted, and in a lot of ways reminded me of the movie Jane Doe. And I adore that movie. I think it's fantastic. And this has a lot of that same creepy morgue, supernatural vibe to it. So I can't recommend this higher. I think this is a movie that is a must-see right now. So get over to Hulu and check it out. No One Will Save You is a 2023 sci-fi horror movie, written, directed, and produced by Brian Duffeld. It stars Caitlin Dever as an exiled, anxiety-ridden homebody who must battle an alien that has found its way into her home. This is one that has gotten a lot of buzz. Everybody was talking about this when it came out over on Hulu earlier this year, and rightfully so in my opinion, because it has a real uniqueness about it, mostly because famously it has pretty much no dialogue in it. Everything that happens is about the visuals and the sounds, but not about the words, not about the script. There is pretty much no script to it, but it looks incredible. The coloring, the style, the way it's shot, the speed at which it's edited, it's creepy, it keeps you on the edge of your seat, it gets extremely intense, but it's also weird and quirky and takes some really unique directions and does some things that a lot of people were questioning, trying to figure out, especially the end of this. A lot of people were really scratching their heads on what it meant. But I'm not going to spoil that here. I have my opinions on what I think happened, but what makes this movie so great to me is you figuring out for yourself what you think it means, and things like that I think are really special and cause us to think and get creative with the way we see things and hopefully talk. But if you want to know my opinions more on it, hit me up on Twitter or social media somewhere. I'd be glad to talk about it. But I think this movie is so entertaining and one of the best for sure this year, especially for streaming originals. It just feels like every year Hulu puts at least one or two really fantastic movies out. So if you have yet to see this, do yourself a favor and get over to Hulu and check it out.
Se terminan rápido.
When Evil Lurks is a 2022 Argentine horror movie. Written and directed by Demian Rugna, it stars Ezekiel Rodriguez, Louis Lembrowski, and Emilio Vadovic. In a remote village, two brothers find a demon-infected man about to give birth to evil itself. So they decide to get rid of the man, but merely succeed in helping him to deliver the inferno. This movie is incredible. It's amazing to me that Demian Rugna has had two movies he's put out, and one was Terrified, which is one of the best horror movies from that year, and then now he comes out with When Evil Lurks, and it's definitely one of the best this year. I'm not going to tell you if it's my number one or not, but it's definitely up there, I'll give you that. It's just so impactful, unique, dark, twisted, disturbing on every level. And I love to see that it's getting some buzz. I was lucky enough to see it in theaters, and I hadn't heard anyone talk about it. I just noticed, hey, there's a new horror movie at the theater, and went and saw it. It does have subtitles, so you'll have to read a bit, but it is so worth it. Don't deprive yourself from seeing one of the very best horror movies, not only this year, but one of the best we've seen in quite a while. It's that good. Don't deprive yourself because you got to read a little bit. It's worth it. No matter how much you may struggle with the subtitles, it's still very much worth it, because the imagery, the quality in which the kills happen, and the unique, disgusting, disturbing things happen, It is brutal. It takes directions and does things that you just never see horror movies do. Like, this has seriously got some balls, and it is so savage. But it also tells this really unique story that's in this like alternate reality, this alternate universe where demon possession is more of like an illness, a disease. And just this whole world that Demian Rugna designs and created is just so full and rich. There's all these rules and mythos, and it's just fantastic. I cannot express more how much I love this movie and how big of a fan I am of it. And it's really great that you're seeing a lot of people buzzing about it. I'm so happy that people are checking this out because it's really that incredible. It's available over on Shudder because it's a Shudder original. A few of the movies on here are Shudder originals. Like, they really knocked it out of the park this year with their originals. And not a lot of streaming services had that great of ones, especially Netflix. I didn't have a single movie on this list that's from Netflix, and that's just sad. Netflix really needs to step up their horror game. But I'm so glad we have something like Shudder that just every year seems to pump out these fantastic movies, because without Shudder, a lot of these movies just wouldn't exist. But this movie is incredible, and if you have yet to see it, this is an absolute must-see for any fan of horror. But that's gonna do it for me today. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week. I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys absolutely mean the world to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or if you want to become a channel member and help support the channel that way, there's a button right down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember guys, horror can be fun. If you enjoyed this, click right here to see me list 10 amazing movies with horrible Rotten Tomato scores. And I'll see you guys next time.